Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Word for Kids. I'm Jaymie.
And I'm Josh.
And we're guiding you through the book of Matthew in a series of 20 episodes. Last time, we learned about John the Baptist, who sent disciples to ask Jesus if he was the one to come or if they should expect someone else. Jesus told them to report back all the miracles they had seen, and then went on to tell the people gathered all about who John was. Jesus then said to the people, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart." We learned that a yoke is a tool used to make a difficult task easier.
Later, on the Sabbath, Jesus and his disciples went through a grain field, and his disciples picked some heads of grain and ate them. The Pharisees saw this and complained to Jesus that this was unlawful. But he reminded them of the times David and the priests had eaten what was unlawful, but were considered innocent. He again said, "I desire mercy, not sacrifice," and explained that if the Pharisees understood this, they wouldn't have accused his disciples. Likewise, when Jesus went into their synagogue and saw a man with a shriveled hand, they tried to trap him by asking him if it was lawful to heal on the Sabbath. He told them it was, in fact, lawful to do good, even on the Sabbath. Then healed the man's hand. So the angry Pharisees went off trying to figure out a plan to kill Jesus, and that's where we left off last time. Are you ready for today's adventure? Let's go.
Jesus often spoke to the people in parables. Today's episode actually has 5 of these parables. And can you believe it's already time for the word of the day?
Hello, it's Albert again. Today's word of the day is parable. A story with a hidden meaning. Parable.
So as we said, Jesus would often use these stories called parables to teach the people. In just Matthew chapter 13, Jesus used seven parables. And today we're going to talk about 5 of them. The first is called the parable of the sower. A sower is just a farmer who is throwing or scattering his seeds, hoping that they will grow into plants for food. And it goes like this. A farmer went out to sow his seed. Some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. This seed represents someone who hears the message about the kingdom of heaven and doesn't understand it. So the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in their heart. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow, but when the sun came up, the plants were scorched, which means they were burnt, and they were withered because they had no root. This represents someone who hears the word and receives it with joy right away. But when trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away, since they have no root. They only last a short time.
Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. This represents someone who hears the word, but the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth, which is a love of money, choke the word and make the person unfruitful. Still, other seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop 100, 60, or 30 times what was sown. This represents someone who hears the word and understands it. And this person produces a crop, which means they are fully committed to the word and they bring others to Christ. After finishing the parable, Jesus said, "Whoever has ears, let them hear." The disciples asked him, "Why do you speak to the people in parables?" Jesus answered, "Because the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you, but not to them. This is why I speak to them in parables. Though seeing, they do not see. Though hearing, they do not hear or understand."
Now, on to another parable called the parable of the mustard seed. Jesus said, "The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and planted in his field. Though the mustard seed is the smallest of all seeds, when it grows, it is the largest of all the garden plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds come and perch in its branches." So here Jesus was saying that even though the kingdom of heaven was, at the time, not recognized by many people, a time would come when many would recognize it.
The next parable Jesus shared was very short. He said, "The kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed into about 60 pounds of flour until it worked all through the dough." This parable reminded the people that God was working in all things to bring the kingdom of heaven to fulfillment.
Then came another parable, the parable of the hidden treasure. Jesus said, "The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again, and then in his joy went and sold all that he had and bought that field." It was somewhat normal for someone to hide things in the ground, so this was relatable to the people. Just like many people could pass over treasure buried in the ground and never know what was right beneath them, so many people may not recognize the kingdom of heaven. However, once someone does experience God's presence through Jesus, that person should give up everything they have to serve him.
The last parable we're going to talk about today is very similar. Jesus said, "The kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away and sold everything he had and bought it." Again, following Jesus means giving up everything that hinders us from serving him.
After sharing these parables, Jesus went to his hometown and began teaching the people in the synagogue, and they were amazed. But while they were amazed, they were also confused and offended by him because they recognized him and knew him when he was growing up. "Where did this man get this wisdom and these miraculous powers?" they asked. "Isn't this the carpenter's son? Isn't his mother's name Mary and his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas? Aren't all his sisters with us? Where did he get all these things?" But Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor except in his own town and in his own home." And because of their lack of faith in his town, he did not do many miracles there. And that's where our story ends for today. It's time for the verse to remember.
Today's verse is Matthew 6:33. "But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." Matthew 6:33. Josh, something that I love is that Jesus used these parables to explain to the people what it would mean to follow him and enter the kingdom of heaven. Did you know even speaking in parables fulfilled prophecy from the book of Psalms, which said, "I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter hidden things since the creation of the world." This really speaks to how much Jesus wanted to have a personal connection with the people around him by using examples that they would actually understand. And that's the beautiful thing about Jesus coming to earth. He was God with us, as we sometimes hear at Christmas time. Jesus wanted a relationship with us, and these parables are one way he helped people connect with God and understand what it meant to follow him. How cool is that?
That's pretty awesome. The thing that I really did relate to in our reading this time was when Jesus was in his own hometown. You know, the church where I grew up at is where I felt a call to be in ministry and to work for the church. And it was tricky for some of the people to see me as Pastor Josh instead of just Josh, the goofy kid from youth group. And so I relate with Jesus in these struggles. It's a little bit disappointing that the people didn't accept Jesus right away, but hopefully the truth of the good news eventually did make it into their hearts and grow roots and eventually grow 100-fold and big crops, just like that first parable.
That's very true. All right, that's all we have for this week. Can't wait to see you again soon for another episode of The Word for Kids.